Good morning, class. Good afternoon. Good evening. Today we're going to look at the concept of the Earth, hemispheres, coordinates, lines of latitude, and lines of longitude. Let's begin. In Spain, or in the United States, or in the UK, we live in what's called the Northern Hemisphere, which means there's an equator line, and everything above the equator line 0 is going to be considered the Northern Hemisphere. We have magnetic north and magnetic south. Now, we're going to first start looking at things called coordinates. Coordinates can describe any location on Earth. Our planet has a globe or a sphere, and around it are set imaginary rings drawn from east to west and north to south. Now, lines of latitude are lines that are measuring north to south, but they run east to west. Okay? These are the horizontal lines of latitude, which means it's telling us how close are we to the equator or how close are we to one of the poles. This is called the North Pole and the South Pole. Now, lines of latitude we have had for a long time. Since the ancient times, we've had lines of latitude. However, lines of longitude, which are these lines that are running north-south that measure east and west, are relatively new. We did not know how to measure lines of longitude until we have very precise time measuring devices, which is why in the past people would end up on coastlines. The old ship mariners and the old navigators would end up sometimes lost. They would know where they are on lines of latitude, but they did not know where they were on lines of longitude, which are these. Latitude is measured in degrees north or south of the equator. 0 is the equator, and in this case, 90 would be the North Pole. If we take a piece of paper, and if I were to draw a circle on this piece of paper, we can see that if I draw a line straight down the middle of this circle, more or less, it's not very pretty, but you understand, this straight line, okay? And then if we draw another line, this actually is the symbol for Earth, this X, when we're using astronomical or astrological symbols. This angle right here is called a 90-degree angle. It's called a right angle. Whenever you see a drawing like this, and then inside a geometrical shape, imagine this is a triangle, and inside this is 90 degrees, because there's a square. Anytime you see a square, that means it's 90 degrees. Now, 90 degrees in relation to what? Well, if, like we said before, we see here the equator, this equator has the 0 degrees latitude. We'll call this 0. This means that this is 0, and if we go up the Earth to the North Pole, we see that it's 90 degrees, which means that the angle from the equator to the North Pole is measuring 90 degrees, which is why they're calling it 90 degrees latitude. I know it's a quite difficult concept to understand, but this is the basis of the concept of lines of latitude. The equator is an imaginary line that runs around the Earth, the center of the planet, and is itself a line of latitude, 0. It divides the Earth into two parts. We have the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere. Lines of longitude run around the Earth from north to south, as we talked about them. They are called meridians. Longitude is measured in degrees east or west of Greenwich meridian. Greenwich is a prime meridian and is the line of longitude defined as 0. The modern meridian is situated in Greenwich in London, United Kingdom. Okay, this is due to history. This is due to navigation and control of the world's oceans. The British were the dominant force when they established all of these systems of longitude and all of those things. So, as I said before, where do we live? We can use coordinate system to pinpoint anywhere on the planet. If I give you two numbers, if I say I'm on 0 degrees longitude and 0 degrees latitude, that means I'm here. This coordinate system is for us to be able to navigate the Earth and know exactly where you are on the Earth.